Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're getting into something pretty fascinating and definitely provocative. The source is The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles.
Yeah, and that title, it really sets the stage. Our sources show this isn't presented as, just philosophy. It's framed as a very practical, almost rigid manual.
Right.
Waddles is upfront. It's for people who want wealth first and, crucially, are willing to accept his scientific conclusions, as he calls them, pretty much on faith to get started.
On faith, and he calls it an exact science where failure is impossible. That's a huge claim.
It really is. The whole premise is if you follow these specific laws, the result is guaranteed.
Right.
So our mission today, let's unpack that foundation, the philosophy bit, and then dig into this very specific, maybe counterintuitive certain way, he says, is foolproof for getting rich.
Okay, let's dive in. The absolute core idea, maybe the most controversial one right off the bat, is his argument that wanting to be rich isn't just okay, it's actually necessary. Moral, even.
It's a complete reframing, isn't it? He argues you basically can't live a truly complete or successful life unless you're rich.
Why? What's the logic there?
Well, the idea is that developing your talents, your mind, your soul, it all requires things, material things.
Things like books, travel, art supplies, just space to think comfortably.
Exactly. Books, travel, opportunities, even just nice surroundings. You need money for those. So he connects the right to life directly to the right to have the free use of everything needed for your fullest mental, spiritual, and physical unfoldment.
But calling it sinful to be satisfied with less, that's taking it to another level. How does he justify that kind of, well, moral weight?
He claims the desire for a richer, fuller life is actually praiseworthy because it's in tune with how the universe itself works, always pushing for more life.
Ah, so being content with less goes against that natural impulse.
That's the idea. He literally calls being satisfied with poverty sinful and abnormal because, according to him, the drive for increase is fundamental to all life.
So poverty isn't just an economic state. It's like a barrier to your potential and maybe even a moral issue if you accept it.
That seems to be the implication.
Yeah.
And it even touches on love. The text gives this example. Poverty hinders the expression of love because love naturally wants to give.
Give gifts, give opportunities.
Right. If you don't have the means to give, whether to your family or your community, you're sort of blocked from fully expressing that part of being human.
Okay, that's a heavy philosophical start. You mentioned he grounds this in a specific theory.
He does. It's all based on the monistic theory of the universe, the idea that one is all and all is one.
Monism, meaning everything is made of the same basic stuff.
Sort of, yeah. Think of it like one single, primary, intelligent substance making up everything. It has roots in Hindu thought, but Waddles connects it through Western philosophers too. Descartes, Spinoza, Hegel, Emerson.
And if you accept that premise,
Then he claims the rest of his science follows with mathematical certainty. Which brings us right to chapter 2. Getting rich is laid out as an exact science like algebra or arithmetic. It's about following specific laws. Wealth comes from doing things in a certain way.
a certain way. Okay, but first he clears the decks, right? He says what getting rich is not about, and it contradicts a lot of common ideas, like environment.
Right, first thing, it's not environment. He points out rich and poor people live in the same areas, work in the same fields. So location or industry isn't the deciding factor.
Okay, what's next? Talent.
Not talent or natural ability either. He observes that many really talented people stay poor, while others with seemingly very little talent get rich. The successful ones, he says, are just an average lot who happen to use this certain way.
Average. Okay, and this next one really surprised me when I read it. It's not thrift or saving.
Yeah, that's probably the most shocking for many. The text explicitly states many very curious people, meaning like careful saving types, are poor while free spenders often get rich.
All right. Wait, hold on. So the person budgeting every penny, denying themselves things, they're missing the boat, according to Waddles. That just goes against so much standard financial advice.
Completely. His conclusion is stark. If anyone else in your town or state can get rich, you can too. It's just about learning and doing this certain way. It bypasses all those conventional things because it operates on a different principle.
And that different principle must also deal with the idea of scarcity, right? The worry that all the good stuff, all the opportunities are already taken or controlled by, the big players.
Exactly. Chapter 3 tackles that head on. The text insists opportunity is not monopolized. Yes, the visible supply might seem limited. But the invisible supply, the raw potential, the formless substance itself, is truly inexhaustible.
He uses that building material example, right? Remind me of that statistic again.
Yeah, it's a striking image. He claims you could build a palace as large as the U.S. Capitol building for every single family on Earth, using only the building materials available just in the United States at that time.
Wow. Okay, so the material is there. It's just about accessing it, bringing it into form.
Precisely. Which leads us to the absolute core of his science, this formless substance or thinking stuff. This is really the foundation you have to accept, according to him. There are three key propositions. First, there's one original formless substance that everything is made from. Importantly, this substance is thinking stuff. It's conscious.
Okay, so we're in this universe made of intelligent putty, basically. What does that mean for us? How do we interact with it?
That brings us to the next 2 points. Second, a thought held in this substance actually produces the form of the thought.
Like impresses a shape onto it.
Exactly. And third, crucially, man, as a thinking being, can form things in his own thought. And by impressing that thought onto the formless substance, he can cause the thing he thinks about to be created.
So our thoughts literally shape reality by interacting with this universal thinking stuff. But if it's thinking stuff, how do we know it's working for us? Couldn't it just reflect our fears back?
Well, the text assumes this substance is fundamentally benevolent. It's always striving for more life for all. It wants expansion and fullness.
Okay, so that connects back to the more life idea.
It does. And that means the core mental work is thinking in a certain way. Specifically, thinking truth, which he defines as abundance, health, wholeness, regardless of what appearances might be showing you, like poverty or sickness.
That sounds incredibly difficult, like looking at a pile of bills and thinking abundance, or feeling sick and thinking health.
He acknowledges that. He calls this sustained, focused thought, holding the vision, despite contrary evidence, the hardest work in the world. That mental effort is the creative act. And this focus on creation leads directly to another critical point from Chapter 5. You absolutely must shift from the competitive mindset to the creative mindset.
Because if this substance wants more life for all, it's not going to play favorites or help you take from someone else.
Exactly. That's the logic. The text is very clear. The substance will make things for you, but it will not take things away from someone else and give them to you.
So worrying about limited resources or trying to beat out the competition
Immediately cuts you off from that creative power. You shift onto the competitive plane, which operates differently, and according to Waddles, leads to riches that are never satisfactory and permanent.
Okay, but we live in a world that feels competitive. The job market, business deals. How do you operate creatively there?
This is where his practical ethics become really important. The rule is, you must always give every person more in use value than you take from them in cash value.
Use value versus cash value. Can you break that down? What does use value mean here?
It means the actual benefit, the practical advantage, the improvement someone gets from interacting with you or your product or service. So if you sell something, the value it provides to the buyer must be greater than the money they paid. You have to consciously add to the life of the world by every business transaction.
So even if I charge a high price, say as a consultant,
If the advice you give saves the client millions, or solves a huge problem, or dramatically improves their life or business, then the use value they received far exceeds the cash you took. You become a center of increase. Everyone who deals with you gets richer or better off in some way.
okay, that makes sense. It shifts the focus from getting mine to creating value for everyone. So that covers the mindset. Let's get into the specific actions. What are the practical steps, starting with the mental work?
Right, the mental side first. The absolute first step, he insists, is gratitude.
Gratitude. Why is that number one?
Because gratitude connects you to the all, to the source of abundance. It keeps your mind fixed on the positive, on the supply, and prevents you from slipping back into competitive, doubtful thinking. He even cites the attitude of Jesus, "I thank thee, Father, that thou hearest me," as a key psychological posture to adopt.
Okay, gratitude opens the connection. Then what?
Then you need a clear mental picture, a vision. Not just a vague wish for more money, but a really definite, detailed image of exactly what you want to be, do, or have. The house, the trip, the business success.
Be specific.
Very specific. And you have to hold that picture with unwavering faith that it's already yours, or at least on its way to you. You need to mentally live in the new house, as he puts it, even before it manifests physically.
Okay. Gratitude, vision, faith. What about willpower? Do you use your will to force things to happen?
No, and this is a really critical point in the text. You do not use willpower on anything outside yourself. Trying to mentally coerce people or force circumstances is wrong. He equates it to robbery.
So where do you use will?
Only on yourself. You use your will to make yourself think the right thoughts and act the right way, to hold the vision, maintain faith, practice gratitude, and fight off doubt and fear within your own mind. That's the only legitimate use of will.
Got it. Internal discipline, not external force. So we have the mental toolkit: vision, faith, gratitude, discipline, will. But you can't just sit and think, right? Action must be involved.
Absolutely. Not just thinking. He's very clear. Thought must be followed by personal action. You can't just meditate your way to wealth.
And where do you take this action? Do you need to find the perfect opportunity first?
No, that's another key point. You must act now, right where you are, in your current job, your current environment. Don't wait for conditions to be perfect or to move somewhere else. Action starts immediately.
Okay, act now. And is it just about being busy, doing lots of things?
Not just busy, it's about efficient action. You must do all that you can do today. But the emphasis is on doing each separate act in an efficient manner.
Efficient? Meaning what exactly? Productive?
Purposeful?
Yes, purposeful.
Yeah.
It's the quality and the intention behind the action. He says you make an act efficient by holding your vision, your faith, and your purpose while you are doing that specific act. Whether it's writing an email, making a sales call, or cleaning the floor, you infuse the action with the power of your vision.
So mindful, purposeful action aligned with the vision. That makes sense. And the final piece seems to be about interacting with others. Right. How you relate to people is crucial for becoming what he calls the advancing man or advancing woman. The key is to constantly convey the impression of increase.
Impression of increase, like project success.
More than just projecting success, it's about genuinely embodying and communicating growth, advancement, and abundance. Since, according to the theory, everyone is seeking more life, people will naturally be drawn to someone who radiates that sense of increase.
So being someone who makes others feel hopeful, inspired, like they're moving forward just by associating with you.
Exactly. Whether you're an employee, a professional, a business owner, you become a creative center that benefits everyone you interact with. So if we boil it all down, this certain way is really a combination. You need that clear vision, held with fixed purpose and unwavering faith, fueled by deep gratitude, and then expressed through efficient action taken right now in your present circumstances.
That's the formula. But he claims it's an exact science and failure is impossible. If someone tries this and doesn't get rich, what's the explanation then? The science can't be wrong, according to him.
Right. According to the text, if you fail, the fault lies entirely with you, the individual.
Ouch.
Yeah. Failure comes because you didn't maintain the vision, or you let doubt and fear creep in and neutralize your thoughts, or you didn't act consistently and efficiently. The method itself is presented as perfect. Any failure is a failure in application.
It really puts all the responsibility and maybe all the pressure on controlling your own mind, doesn't it? Especially when everything around you might be screaming the opposite: lack, limitation, competition.
It absolutely does. And that brings us to the final thought, something really provocative to leave our listeners with, directly from the source material's emphasis.
Okay.
The text essentially concludes that the real work, the greatest labor anyone can perform, isn't the physical action. It's the sheer mental power required to think what you want to think, regardless of appearances.
Holding the thought of health when you feel sick, holding the thought of abundance when you see lack.
Exactly. That sustained mental effort, the discipline to think truth as he defines it, despite all sensory evidence to the contrary. That is presented as the ultimate challenge and the true key to the science of getting rich.
A powerful and maybe demanding final thought indeed,
Yeah.
something to really mull over.